So Lil Durk, he's always said he'd been hanging around them killers, right? Y'all believe him? Well, most of us at this point, we know who King Von is, right? We know what he was on. I heard some other names along the way. I heard people like Bezu. He's got quite a reputation to him, right? OTF Dede, we heard the name in the music. I never put a face to it. Never put a face to a lot of these names, to be honest. When you just listen to the music and you vibing out, you hear these guys calling their homies names and they say, he'll do this to you, he'll do that to you, whatever. A lot of it goes over your head. And you see the indictment and you see OTF Dede is one of them guys that they grabbed up. What? Days before Durk tried to go skip his way to Italy and they grabbed him, right? So a lot of information is popping up on OTF Dede. He's got a dark background. I never put a face to him before. I don't play this with y'all. Let's do a reaction. Let's take a look a little bit deeper into who OTF Dede is, one of Lil Durk's alleged shooters.
On the voice, that mean Dede, he the threat. Dede.
That soon, huh? Yo, ain't it crazy how different shit hits? And I don't mean to laugh. It's just like, we all know the song and we all know the lyrics. But after the indictment, after seeing these people's mugshots popping up, and when you hear these songs now, it just hits so different. Damn.
On the voice, that mean Dede, he the threat.
Dede a threat. Ain't got no patience. Wherever you catch you, that's where you gon' shoot it.
How? You just call Dede a rapper, you're a killer.
In a shocking turn of events, the biggest drill rapper in the world, Lil Durk, was recently arrested by the feds and charged with murder for hire. At least 5 of his associates were also arrested in connection with the murder. One of them in particular has a story so crazy that it'll leave your jaw dropped. In today's video, we'll be telling the story of OTF Dede. OTF Dede, also known as D-Ski, real name DeAndre Wilson, is a gang member from Chicago, Illinois. He was a member of a hood called Tay-Town. Tay-Town was cool with Lamron, 600, O-Block, and THF 46. Tay-Town beefs with Shields, STL, EBT, MOB, Jarl City, and 051 Young Money. Lil Durk and Dede are cousins. He's been around Durk since day one, way before the money and fame. When Dede started rapping, Durk signed him to his OTF label, but he was always a gangster that just did rap on the side. Dede had a notorious reputation in the streets. Durk would frequently shout him out in songs or refer to him as the nickname The Threat. He was allegedly one of...
Make sure y'all hang around to the end. As far as alleged shooters or alleged killers being shouted out in songs, I got a topic that I want to get to at the end of this video. This video is only 8 minutes long. So when this is done, I want to ask y'all a couple questions.
Tay-Town's top shooters. With a reputation like that, it's no surprise that Dede would find himself linked to multiple murders. As I mentioned earlier, one of Tay-Town's biggest enemies is a gang called Shields. On November 3rd, 2012, a member of Shields named Travis Henry was sitting in a car with a friend on the 5600 block of South Shields Avenue when a blue van pulled up beside them. A gunman hopped out of the van and opened fire, shooting into Travis's vehicle repeatedly. The shooter then hopped back into the van and fled the scene. Travis's friend was able to flee unscathed, but sadly, Travis was shot multiple times and pronounced dead on the scene at just 19 years old. Dede would get arrested and officially charged with this murder about 2 years later, on November 5th, 2014. 3 different witnesses.
2 years later, we keep seeing these examples of people think that they got away with stuff. Now, obviously, he's going to beat this murder, right? But arrested for it 2 years later, and that was a 19-year-old. Damn.
Identified him to police as the shooter. He was hit with 1 count of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Witness testimony can often be shaky, and in a place like Chicago, witnesses often recant statements for their own safety. Prosecutors didn't have strong evidence in his case, so after 5 years, Dede was granted a $90,000 bond in 2019, so his associates bonded him out. Following his release from jail and while on bond for murder, Dede's ops would capture him and do something truly sickening to him. The next part of the story is truly disgusting. As Dede was enjoying life out of jail, he would get set up. He was lured somewhere by his ops, and they held him up at gunpoint. Dede's ops then proceeded to rob him and cut off his dreads. In truly demonic fashion, realizing that they had him at their mercy, they would make him do a disgusting act on camera. While holding guns in his face, Dede's ops forced him to eat out a woman on her period while she was bleeding profusely. To make things worse, they were...
You want to know what's so crazy? I remember that story. I just never knew who it was about. I never had a face to it. I didn't know who, none of that. I remember that story, y'all. That is crazy. That is wicked. That's the devil right there, B. And he was sitting down fighting the case for 5 years. Then he bonded out. He was still fighting the case, but he was able to fight it from outside. And then he bumps into his ops and they do that to him. Just imagine what type of shit you got to be into when people want to grab you up, hold you at gunpoint, cut your dreads off, and while you sitting there, and put you on camera doing that to a woman while it's that time of the month, and then to put the video out to just disrespect you and like, it's not even a situation. Like, you got to know, if you do that to somebody, you become a target. If you ever do that to somebody, anything remotely close to that, you kidnap somebody, even if you don't hurt them. If you take somebody against their will, let alone you do that, you got to know, when that person gets let go, you are now a target to that person. They're going to want some get back. They definitely going to want some get back for that. So how vicious do you have to be to know, like, yeah, I know you a street nigga. You just got out of jail from fighting a murder, and this is what I'm about to do to you on camera. Then I'm about to put the video out for the world to see, to try to fuck you over. And then just sit here and talk about, like, we at war. Yeah, come back and get some get back for that. Like, I remember Mimo talking about that too. And Mimo, he was signed to OTF, right? Mimo was signed with Lil Durk for a second. You know, that relationship and that situation. I seen interviews from Mimo, him talking things like he felt like he deserved a bigger push. We heard about Mimo's chain, you know, disappearing. I think Bezu then started going back and forth with Mimo. So but that's all inside the same camp. And I guess, you know, all the little complexities of that shit over there. But Mimo was calling Dede out for this shit as well. Once again, I never put a face to the name. I heard some of the back and forth, didn't know who, but now that Dede's indicted and you see and you're putting all this story together, it's like, oh, that's who that happened to. But let the streets call it, he's a certified hitter though. Man, listen, that just means that all these people you got to stay away from.
Recorded everything and posted the video online for the whole world to see.
OTF Dede, look out. Got caught. Got a bitch tricking.
Somehow, no arrests were ever made for this incident. There's rumors online that multiple people involved in this situation were killed afterward. However, I've not found any concrete evidence of this anywhere. Regardless, something like this would change someone forever. A few years later, good fortune would come for Dede as...
Damn, do we answer that question? Where did they get the woman from? I mean, how many women do we hear get used in setups and all type of shit? But a woman that is that time of the month and to partake in this piece of somebody being abducted, kidnapped, and tortured? You know what? At first, I was going to act like, well, yeah, it makes sense. But nah, I'm actually with you, Cornelius. You're right. Where did they get her from? Like, oh, shit. Because you want to know what? If you Dede, you probably got her on your list too. I don't even want to go into detail about that shit, man. Like, that's...
His murder charges were officially dropped. He would soon be linked to another murder that brought down one of the biggest rappers in the world.
Oh, this one. Okay.
Right now, the search is on for 3 people who police say shot at a Savannah rapper, killing a member of his entourage. It happened in Los Angeles, and cameras captured the aftermath. Shots fired, a fight taken to the streets, and this chaotic scene, the ending of a shooting that started in Los Angeles, California. Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight. It all started at this mobile gas station at 5:30 Friday evening. LAPD says witnesses heard multiple gunshots, then watched a couple cars zoom off. 3 people in one car shot at this black Cadillac Escalade. It's unclear if those inside shot back.
As I'm sure most of you know, famous Chicago rapper and close friend of Lil Durk, King Von, was shot and killed in November of 2020 during a violent confrontation with Georgia rapper Quando Rondo and his associates. Losing King Von was devastating for his associates, so they were eager to avenge him. This would lead to them coming after.
What guys died? Mr. 187, are you from the rat? Mr. 187, where you from, man? You more tapped in? Because we like the added information on this channel. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I know a bunch of backstories just from following drill music, right? But I ain't there. I ain't in Chicago. I don't know. I ain't on Reddit for the last 10 years going crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when you say those guys, the people that abducted and forced him to do that on camera, OTF Dede, the word is that they gone. Well, you want to know what? And I don't want to come off foul by saying this because I don't play with death, y'all. You know what I'm saying? But whether it's from one thing or another, you know, you're not really surprised to hear that some of these guys have lost their lives over the years. And I say that with all due respect. I say that 1000% with all due respect. It's like, who is it? Pac shooter, right? Pac shooter was killed in something unrelated, right? Wasn't it like Orlando? Wasn't it like a drug deal or something like that gone wrong, and everybody started shooting, and he got hit? Like, he died later on from something totally unrelated. It's like when you're in that type of mix, and what's going on in some of this shit, you know, it's not just the revenge factor that sometimes catches up with you, and of course, obviously, that hits as well, right? But it's just you into so much shit. Damn.
Quando Rondo. According to the federal indictment, Lil Durk and his associates learned on August 18, 2022, that Quando Rondo was staying at a hotel in Los Angeles. After learning this, DJ allegedly recruited 2 other Chicago gang members and had one of them buy plane tickets from Chicago to San Diego using an OTF credit card. They then drove to Los Angeles and met up with other Chicago gang members to carry out their mission to kill Quando Rondo. On August 19, 2022, they were able to find him and track him down to a gas station. Once he was parked at the station, they ambushed him. 3 of them hopped out and fired dozens of shots into Quando's car. Somehow, Quando didn't get hit by a single shot, but his cousin, named Lul Pab, who was standing outside of the car, was shot and killed, officially passing away at just 24 years old. Even though they didn't get Quando, Lil Durk and his affiliates would celebrate and self-snitch on themselves in songs. They would seemingly get away with it for a while, but after 2 years, it would turn out that all of them, especially Dede, left a huge trail of evidence leading the feds right to their doorsteps. This murder would officially lead to the end of OTF and Lil Durk.
And rapper Lil Durk has been arrested and charged with a murder for hire plot. The Chicago native, whose real name is Dirk Banks, was arrested in Florida by the U.S. Marshals Service. The 32-year-old's arrest comes as 5 other people in Chicago were arrested in connection with the investigation. According to the complaint, Banks and his co-conspirators allegedly worked together to, quote, track, stalk, and attempt to murder a target at a Los Angeles gas station, firing at least 18 rounds into the person's vehicle, striking and killing a passenger in the car. Banks made his first court appearance this afternoon in Miami. Banks' lawyer asked for privacy after leaving court, telling ABC, quote, "We will not be commenting at this time."
On October 2024, federal prosecutors announced the arrest of 5 OTF members, including Dede, for the murder of Lul Pab. Later that same night, Lil Durk was arrested and charged with murder for hire. The federal indictment alleged that Dede paid the killers of Lul Pab on behalf of Lil Durk. Dede is officially charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation of murder, accessory to murder, and money laundering. Both him, Lil Durk, and their other affiliates that were charged are
So they're saying that Dede is the one that did the payout?
facing life in prison. Wow, I never thought that Lil Durk would ever get caught. It's crazy that they
I don't know why you would say that, homie. Let me go to a topic. Let's leave that up here on the screen. It says the end of OTF, man. I ain't praying on nobody's downfall. Y'all know me. Question. Y'all obviously know what it is to snitch, right? We don't got to talk about that. I've also spoken in recent streams. I am of the opinion that self-snitching needs to be treated just as worse as just general regular snitching. That's my opinion. We can go into that topic once again later on when it comes back up again, or check a prior stream. Third question that I now have. When you label your shooters, your killers, people that have commit crimes in your raps, right? Just to hype them up. And I'm not talking about just the incriminating shit. I'm just talking about making some of these guys more public. Now, I get it. The Dedes of the world and the Bezus of the world, and some of these guys start actually doing music. So you pump them up and they get names, and then you hope that they get on, and, you know, you try to help them, you know, make money and all that. Bring them into your fold. Bring them into your record label. I get it. But Chicago isn't the only one I've been hearing this shit forever. It's like a whole wave of talking about how my right hand or this person or that person that's with me is a shooter and does this too. Y'all remember Lil Pappy, right? Rest in peace, Lil Pappy, one of the most talented rappers that came out of Chicago. He was gunned down and murdered as well. Why do I know his alleged shooter's name? I've never seen him before. I can't put a face to it, but I hear the name Spaz all the time simply because I listen to Lil Pappy. He would say that all the time. Spaz in the cut, my spaz, all that shit. You always pumping up your shoot. And it's not just Chicago. Like I said, Philly does it a lot too. And I'm talking way back. I could go to DVD era. I could go to people like Quilly Mills. Like, why do I know who Sire is? Last I heard the name Sire from Haines Street related to Quilly Mills, right? He was on a run or something like that. Why do I know Dev with the Riot? I'm talking to Philly right now. Dev with the Riot Pump, Joey Jihad and Quill and all these guys, they would always shout out their shooters. Philly was always heavy for that. Chirac is no different, man. How do y'all feel about that? Do y'all put that in the category of snitching? Of always saying this like, because now we said earlier, these lyrics hit different. My man Dede, he'll do this and boom, boom, but he's beat prior murder charges, or you're going to call him when it's time to put in work. So here's the thing, topic within the topic, people. Let me speak about security guards, right? I'm going to make up a hypothetical. I'm not going to speak about me or nobody I know. When you're coming up young, right? Let's say you and your friends provide your own security. And you might continue to do that, right? Just keep up with these words and read between the lines. Let's say you and 3 of your homeboys, y'all carry, when y'all go to certain places and y'all cover each other at an elevated level, right? Later on, you might bring security into the fold. That doesn't mean that sometimes that these people around you stop moving the way that they move, right? But when Meek Mill, for example, has O'Malley. Remember when O'Malley was going back and forth with Game, and he put like a Uzi on Instagram and shit, fully auto Uzi. It's just like, yo, you play with Meek, you got to see his cousin and all that type of shit. You're supposed to get to the point as Meek, as the leader, as the face, as the money, where you say, we're going to still protect me. We're going to protect all of us when we move around, but I want my cake and eat it too. You know what that means? I want us to be able to protect each other. God forbid we get into a shooting, right? But we also want to be able to avoid jail too. So now you bring security there. So it's like, O'Malley, you're not the primary responsible shooter. Hopefully, the security becomes the primary shooter. Doesn't mean that O'Malley and Meek's not holding as well. Then it becomes just a bunch of guns there, right? But the primary shooter is the one that you want to be able to walk into court or possibly stay there on the scene and write a statement, or be able to go to the precinct and say that I am a legal security guard, I am an off-duty police officer, whatever the person's status is, this is my job, this is my duty. It's not my best friend that was the primary front of the line that pulled the gun first. That's what just happened. We see Sean running around doing all these interviews, right? Sean was the first layer of security with Diddy. You get smarter, and it's like, no, Sean, you could have your gun. You could be security too. But now we're going to put another layer in front of you, which is the hired guards, right? Cake and eat it too. You see what I'm saying? So my point is, Durk now, with all this money, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, if Dede beat cases in the past, and if you know, fast forward, if you happen to get the drop on Quando Rondo, if Dede is one of the people that you might call to say, it's that time. It's hunting season. We outside. If he's one of the people that you would actually call to allegedly be a trigger man, I would think you should never say his name in music about being a murderer. Does that make sense to y'all? The second thing that I want to say too, because I just keep getting reminded about how long some of these situations take, whether it's FBG Duck's murder and the old block members getting arrested 2 years later, this, 3 years later, that. You know, that's so apparent that you think you gotten away with something and you didn't. But as we continue to also factor in where these situations happen, okay? Where was FBG Duck? Once again, a high tax paying, high retail area, high tourist attraction, no different than Quando Rondo's cousin, Beverly Hills, miles away from the mall. They're not going for this, right? This is another thing too. And I love to draw parallels to entertainment because, like I always tell y'all, in my opinion, it's not even an opinion, it's a fact. Art imitates life. These directors and these screenplay writers and all that, they see real life and then they put it in cinematic form. So let me go to The Wire. Remember the scene in The Wire where Stringer Bell walked into the spot, into one of the stash houses or the warehouses, one of their little low locations, and he walked up on Slim and he's like, yo, I need somebody hit. We gotta move out. Slim's like, who we hitting? And he's like, Clay Davis. Slim's like, what? The mayor? Remember, Avon walked in and said, what? We ain't hitting no mayor. That's gonna bring all types of heat. Now, unfortunately, in certain zip codes, they do care less. We know how it is in the hood. They'd rather watch a bunch of us just kill ourselves. Whether it's the gun store, liquor store, gun store, liquor store, gun store, liquor store, the whole fucking surrounding area is just giving you all the tools that you need, right? The cop response times, the way that they police in these areas, it's just so different. That is a fact. We know this. We know the systemic things that our people go through, right? But when you're talking about these, that's why it's like, I don't want to act like Lil Durk is supposed to be this trained assassin. It's just that him and the people around him have been in and out the court system for shootings and beating murders like Dede, right? So many times. And I'm not trying to help Durk or anybody commit a crime and get away with it, because I'm a civilian. I want us all to abide by the law, and I hate to see murder. I hate to see it, right? But you would think after Durk was involved, him and his people, with so much of this stuff, this is where the word, and I don't use the word that often, this is where the word crash out comes. Because it's like, Durk, you are very street smart. You're also smart to the authorities. You've been arrested yourself multiple times for gun cases, all type of stuff. Your friends around you like Dede and Bezu and all these people, they done beat murders and attempted murders and shootings. And you got real, I believe you, sir. Like, I don't know, it's not even an opinion. Like, it's obvious. You have real killers around you that have been through shit. This is like real crash out. This is really like saying, fuck the law, fuck the, we need to do this slide for Vaughn shit, and we got to drop on Quando's truck. Go. Green light, go. Green light. That's, I'm really starting to have more and more of an opinion as if Lil Durk was just in that red tunnel that I describe on this channel so much, where it's just like, yo, go. I don't care. I don't care about my career. I don't care about the money. I don't care about how to do this in a way where we possibly would get away with it. I don't want to hear nothing about that little text he sent talking about don't put my name on none of the flights. He's very street smart, B. Durk is so street smart. And this just seemed like a gotta have it right now. Got Beverly Hills location once again. Broad day, brazen once again. The people that's with you are the people you're rapping in your songs once again. You just add all this shit up and it's just like, I'm not rooting for how to get away with murder. That's not what I'm here for. But it just seems so crash out where like you gotta say it. We gotta call a spade, y'all. We gotta be real about it. You know, and now they're doing documentaries on some of his shooters, and they're putting more light on these people's past. And it's like, oh, that's who this person is. And now that we even get this type of information put together by the internet, when the internet does what the internet does, it makes Durk look even more wild in the situation. That's the best way, the most respectful way I could put it. But all right, y'all. I got a lot more stuff to get to. Keep up with me, please. And go check out that video I dropped the other day about FYBJ, man. We did a lot of homework. He always says, do your homework. We did homework in that video. So y'all give me your thoughts on that one as well. But we'll be back soon. You know how it go.
Don't confuse silence with work ethic. I'm a boss, making decisions my first fetish. The verse cherished is perfect, that's a reverse blemish. I dropped it, connected the block, learn Tetris.
This is the Sorry Street Podcast. Welcome to the house of. And shout out to the members.